Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Starknet Espresso. Today, we have the honor of hosting Elias Tazartes. Elias is one of the co-founders of Kakarot, and he's here today to discuss the goals, the aim, and the future of Kakarot, and especially how Kakarot is enhancing the Starknet ecosystem. And it's a pleasure to have him here with us today. Thank you very much, Elias, for joining us on Starknet Espresso today. It's such a lovely opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Hey, okay, thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So let's just get right to it. Can you start by introducing yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Starknet and blockchain in general?
Yeah, sure. I'm Elias. I'm one of the co-founders of Kakarot. I've been in crypto for almost, I think, 4 years now.
Wow.
Five? Maybe five. It's soon 2025. Time goes by quickly. And how did I get into Starknet? Actually, before joining the Starknet ecosystem, I was a dev at a Paris dev shop called Theodo. And doing investigations on the blockchain, I was sent to the Starknet Community Conference of Lisbon in November 2022. No,
Oh,
2023, sorry. Yeah. No, 2022. Okay, sorry. 2022.
yeah.
It's a long time. It was a long time ago. And there I met, Abdel, I met the people at Only Dust. I met Uri, Eli, Mentor, Clement, and many people. And we started working on Kakarot because it was a very interesting, I would say, R&D project that was pushed by Starkware. So, in a nutshell, how did I join the Starknet ecosystem? Mainly by luck and um, being close to people that were in the ecosystem, I think.
Oh, great, great. Love that very much. One of the things I really wanted us to talk about is Kakarot. And one of the reasons is, I joined the Starknet that was last year. And coming into last Starknet, there was a lot of projects like when you get involved, you see a lot of projects like Kakarot, there's Garaga, there's Madara. And coming, it was just a lot, and we couldn't, myself and most of my colleagues, and we couldn't understand what those projects was all about, and there was little to no resources online in terms of video regards to what all those things meant. So I thought it would be a good thing to have this conversation so that people coming in recently will have more resources to get to know what Kakarot and all these other projects are all about. So I guess that my question now is, what is Kakarot and what is it doing to help the ecosystem?
Okay. So, Kakarot is an implementation of the Ethereum virtual machine in Cairo. That's like the essence of Kakarot. What does it mean to have a provable EVM? It means two things. It means that you can build multi VM. That's the first use case of having a new implementation of the EVM. You can add new programming languages to zero knowledge rollups, such as Starknet. So I would say there is one use case for the provable EVM, which is interop, compatibility and interop. That's the first use case. And the second use case is proving services, using the provable EVM as a proving engine that can go in any blockchain, such that when you give it as input a block, it will return a proof. So these are the two things you can do with Kakarot, the provable EVM. What we did the last year and a half was the first option, which was compatibility and interop on Starknet. What does it mean? It means we embedded the EVM inside Starknet such that we would bridge the gap between the EVM world and the Starknet world. Um, many features are involved, but one that is easy to understand is, for example, our latest feature, which is EVM connectors. We call it like this, and it's the ability to connect any EVM wallet to a Starknet app. So imagine, yeah, you could
No, I was
connect.
going to say, I was going to say, I just connected my on MetaMask. I could be able to connect to Kakarot recently. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one aspect. There are many others. Um, so yeah, so the value add for the Starknet ecosystem is bootstrapping user bases. I think is more connectiveness to other ecosystems that are more linked, more, so I would say closer to Ethereum. So whichever innovation is done there can be also imported into Starknet. But conversely, any very cool innovation that is done on Starknet, EVM native users can benefit from it. So I would say it's some kind of win-win of making two ecosystems closer to one another.
Oh, great, great. So let me, it's to be sure I understand what is happening here. It just means like, so for example, people that are used to writing Solidity now can write Solidity and then deploy on Starknet. This is the implication of this, yeah?
Yeah, theoretically, yes. In the sense that as long as Starknet has enough throughput with regards to compute, any Solidity or EVM application can live on Starknet via Kakarot or on a Starknet app chain.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kakarot represents. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's, you can think about it as a small EVM runtime inside Starknet. So anyone that used to write Solidity, Viper, that uses MetaMask or Safe can now do it on Starknet.
Great, great. I think this is a very fantastic innovation, I must say. But what are the challenges? Because I think I look at the EVM and one of the core components of the EVM is, consensus layer. What are we doing? What is Kakarot doing to, mitigate that with respect to bringing it on the ecosystem?
Right. So Ethereum, or like the Ethereum protocol, is made of consensus layer and execution layer. Kakarot only focuses us, sorry, on the execution layer,
Okay.
and that's what we call the EVM usually. It's just the ability to execute like transactions that are meant for Ethereum compatible chains, and not worry about the consensus part, which is handled fully by the Starknet sequencer or any sequencer that is on the Starknet app chain. So yeah, we haven't gone into the rabbit hole of the consensus layer yet, because it's not needed. And what are the challenges? I think so. Right now, I'll speak like what we're facing today. The biggest challenge is when you are interpreting, when you are embedding, enshrining EVM inside Starknet, you are creating overhead. Why? Because anytime you're interpreting EVM bytecode on Starknet, you are kind of translating a language from let's say the Cairo VM that is a native VM on the native engine on Starknet to EVM, and this
Yeah.
interpretation is done at runtime, which creates, let's be very like numbers oriented, creates some kind of 10x compute overhead. So if you had a transaction that was previously 1 million steps, now it's 10 million steps, and sometimes the overhead is even bigger than this.
Yeah.
It can be small, like there's no real correlation, I would say, with regards to EVM gas towards Cairo steps, but transactions are slower and more expensive on Kakarot, and sometimes they're
Um,
so heavier, so much heavier, that they don't even fit inside the Starknet transaction. So that is the
wow.
main challenge that we have today, that we're looking to solve, be it with new developments, the Cairo native migration. It will take some time. Um, but yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge is when you are trying to make two virtual machines compose with one another.
Yeah.
Um, as long as you don't have some kind of, I don't know, long-term design that revolves around zero knowledge proofs, but instead you have the current design that we have. You are limited a lot by compute.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But it's something that is being worked on right now. I believe there's a solution, so it is coming very soon.
Yeah, there are some solutions. I think, yeah, there are definitely solutions. Increasing throughput on Starknet, increasing the speed of the sequencer, lowering the costs of the proof. All of these are on the Starknet roadmap, so that's not a problem. And us as well, we have a migration coming. I think, regardless of how many improvements are done, there will always be a difference between native Cairo and EVM on Starknet. And native Cairo, like native apps on Starknet, will always be at least 10 times more efficient than Kakarot. So
Yeah.
Kakarot is more, it's more a tool to bootstrap more eyes, more users, more TVL on Starknet, and a tool to create slow transitions into stable user bases that don't need the EVM. But it's a nice tool. It's a really nice thing to have early on for Starknet to attract more users, attract more bridges, attract more liquidity. So it's
Yeah.
it's some kind of bet. I would say it's a bet on the next like 12 to 16 months,
Oh, oh,
because
great.
in an, after a year and a half, there will be better designs for Kakarot. Like for example, Ilya, the lead product of Starkware of Starknet, sorry, just released an article where he thinks about many different ways to do multi-VM. Multi-VM is just a word we use when one chain has multiple programming languages.
Yeah.
So Starknet would be multi-VM if it has EVM and then Cairo. And he is brainstorming on new designs that are really cool for doing multi-VM. And one would be, I think he calls it multi-OS. We don't have to go into technical aspects because
Yeah.
everything is very abstract, like OS, VM. But the TLDR is this long-term design would allow us to kind of like, uh, stop this idea that EVM will always be less performant than Cairo. With this
Yeah.
new design, we would finally have fast execution time, and then the overhead would only be on approving, which is more acceptable.
Oh, great, great. But one of the concerns I have with what is happening is, we're talking about, I think EVM has like 90% of the market share when it comes to programming language, and we're trying to get more people into using Cairo language. Now, do you think this whole idea of multi-VM is going to stunt the growth of Cairo developers coming into the ecosystem?
Actually, I think it will accelerate the growth of the Cairo devs, because I think a lot of people are hearing about Starknet. They're excited about the tech. They're excited about the build-outs, the community, the vibes, the culture, and they've been scared to kind of go and try out Cairo and try everything from scratch. What Kakarot allows them to do is come on Starknet with what they have, come as they are, and then slowly but surely transition from EVM and Solidity to Cairo. And why would they do it? Because everything is more expensive on Kakarot. So they land on Kakarot, they can bring a code base that they have without any change, and then users use it and they realize that the prices are not there. The prices are equivalent to, like, say, Scroll or Taiko, but not to Starknet. The prices are 10 times, 20 times more than Starknet. So they think that for their UX, for their users, they need to switch from Solidity to Cairo slowly. They can do iterative migration, incremental migration,
Yeah.
to reach very good UX and very low prices. So I think actually it's the opposite. It's some kind of foot in the door, or a very nice launch pad for attracting new devs and new users as well to Starknet.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. I think that's the case because I was talking to, we have a new facility in the northern of Nigeria where they train devs, and they just recently going to Starknet programming, Cairo programming, and they started teaching it. And I was talking to him on the show. I wanted to get him to, get more people into Starknet. And one thing we talked about was the language, and it was just about the time I was talking to you about coming on the show. And I pitched Kakarot to him and how they can use, Solidity to, deploy contracts on his partners. But it makes more sense now that you're pointing out, what will even encourage them to come on more on Cairo. So I see what you're saying, and I see the positives in it. The next thing I would like you to touch, there's been so much updates on Kakarot recently. I was looking at the top apps that's on Kakarot. I think the Kakaswap was there, Zenkai, and a couple of other apps on the. What's the progress so far on Kakarot? How are you going so far?
I think the latest progress we had was the fact that we also got on board, like we got Kakarot compatible, as any would say, the main Starknet dApps. So we got, for example, Ekubo to work with Kakarot. And what it means in practice is that someone that uses MetaMask or Rabi or Gnosis Safe Coinbase wallet can now use Ekubo. So we thought that it was nice in the sense that we would bring more users to native Starknet dApps in the first phase. And then in terms of ecosystem, we've kept it very lean and simple, mainly because Kakarot in and of itself is not a rollup and it's not a network. It is more well perceived as a protocol that does services in the land of proving EVM. And then in the case of Starknet, I would say interoperability between VMs. And as such, we have a lean team and we are not essentially looking to grow a user base. We're rather trying to develop technologies that help others scale user bases.
Oh, great, great, great. One thing also I'd like to explain a little bit is how does this, translation work? So I'm hearing you say Starknet is not a protocol. So how is it like a smart contract on Starknet? How really does it do the translation?
So you mean technically?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Currently, it lives on Starknet as a smart contract, and in that smart contract, there exists the entire like instruction set of the Ethereum virtual machine. So 140 opcodes, I think. And whenever a transaction is posted to Kakarot, um, it can be that byte code is loaded, byte EVM byte code is loaded, and
Yeah.
it is interpreted at runtime. So exactly like a virtual machine, we have essentially deployed as a smart contract an EVM interpreter that is able to read and write following the Ethereum spec, execution layer spec, um, state, and to Starknet. So what it means in practice is you can come to Kakarot with, I don't know, Uni V2 or V3 fork, deploy it with Foundry directly on Kakarot by entering our RPC URL, and then interact with it using MetaMask. And then all of this will be wrapped into Starknet transactions under the hood.
Oh, okay, okay, great, great. Um, For developers coming into Starknet and they want to explore the opportunities on Kakarot, what will be the roadmap for them?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So,
What will be
so
the
for
roadmap for devs?
yeah, so let's say people that are coming into Starknet ecosystem and they really want to, contribute to Kakarot, for example, but be part of the contributors on Kakarot. How do they go about it? Are there opportunities for new developers to get in on Kakarot?
I mean, yeah, every other week it happens that so Kakarot is fully open source. All of our repos are open source. We have a Cairo 0 implementation of the EVM, a Cairo 1, a Cairo implementation of the EVM. We have an RPC gateway in Rust. Um, we have new code being developed today on our, like, I would say, longer term product, which is proving services. All of this is open source. So whenever someone new in the community wants to kind of contribute to either first good issues or if they're very experienced, take on harder bounties, we welcome them. It is on the harder end of the spectrum in terms of dev. So I think lately we haven't had too much time for very beginner friendly issues. But for someone who is very well versed in either ZK VMs, Cairo. That's a nice thing to do. You mentioned Garaga Labs, for example, earlier.
Yeah.
Garaga is, I would say, deep cryptography set of libraries written in Cairo. And for example, we use their help to develop some cryptographic features for the EVM. We also use the help of other contributors such as Tadev or Tekak. So we have external contributors to the code bases, and anyone who wants to contribute is welcome to try it. It is hard.
Oh,
So
I can
that's the
imagine.
disclaimer.
I can imagine.
No, it's
Good,
not too
good.
hard. It's not too hard, but it is medium hard. It's not rocket science, not quantum computers, but it is a bit. It is
Yeah.
2 years of code. So it's like 15,000, maybe more lines of code.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it is not so easy to get inside.
Yeah, fair enough. I can imagine how. No, I can imagine. It must be a complex thing. Just this might be unrelated, but I look at Madara Starknet. Is there any correlation with Madara and the Kakarot?
There are angles for collabs, and we've been exploring them for the past year. Essentially, Madara is a primitive, a building block for the Starknet stack, right?
Yeah,
The ability to deploy Starknet app chains.
yeah.
And Kakarot is a like very modular software, almost middleware, um, that allows to make all these Madara app chains EVM compatible. So what it means
Oh,
is that anyone will be able to deploy a Madara app chain that is compatible with Solidity and EVM wallets.
okay. Oh, okay.
And yeah,
Oh, this is really, really like a great innovation. I don't know. I think I was watching the Starknet CC from 2023, and then I saw how the whole Kakarot came into play. Sasha Papin tweeted about it, and it took off from there. And I would say, like, from what I've seen, you guys have done extra, like, you guys have done extra work on it to bring it to, fusion, and that's a good thing, I would say. Just before we wrap up, what would be your advice for developers that are coming into the ecosystem, Starknet in general, but also I know you pointed a little bit on people that want to really, really come into Kakarot and be a game chain, be players in the system. Yeah.
so advice to beginner devs.
Beginners are just generally because I think the way Starknet is even difficult to say someone is a beginner because most people that come into Starknet come in with an experience already. I came in with some level of solidity experience. So most people that come in already have it. But so and again for me, that I think it goes back to what I said initially. Like coming in, you're seeing a lot of projects like Kakarot bases and you want to get in like what would be your advice to those people when they want to come into Kakarot, for example.
Hmm, that's a hard question. I mean, when you want to come to an open source project, usually the easiest thing to do is to be a bit patient, but to go for good first issues, participate in the Telegram or Discord, and try to make yourself known. Usually, what's nice is that, for example, for the past year and a half, we've seen some people come and go, but some people just stay around and we get to know them. So that's nice. I think everything is very online, but at the same time, it's nice to see familiar faces. And I think trust is earned by being consistent. So I would say they can be consistent. I met many builders who just started to investigate many projects at the same time, and they did issues here and there. Did open source essentially. I think doing open source for a few months is very close to doing some kind of internships, because at
Oh,
the end of the
yeah,
day, whenever you get a PR, like a pull request, corrected by someone who is very experienced, it's very close to mentorship.
yeah,
So what happens sometimes is that you want to get that occasion because that person is very busy, but if they're not, it's a very good experience. So patience, even though everything goes very fast in this ecosystem, and doing open source.
yeah. Great, great, great. So finally, before we wrap up, I think there's a lot of expectations on Kakarot in the next 1 year. What should we be expecting from Kakarot? What the new developments are we looking at?
I think you should expect our mainnet extremely soon. So extremely soon our mainnet. Closely after our mainnet, more updates on performance and UX on Starknet. And in our expansion to the Kakarot Labs, you should also expect proving services coming online.
Yeah.
So still in the realm of Starkware, Starks, and Cairo VM, but expansion of Kakarot Labs to all of the, I would say, all of the Ethereum ecosystem and even Bitcoin, just like Starknet announced. So that's
Yeah.
going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a lot. Whenever someone touches reaches the mainnet milestone, it's always extremely big and meaningful and almost daunting because we've done R&D for 6 months, and after 6 months we did development for 1 year and a half, and mainnet is one of it feels like the end, but it's actually the beginning. So
Yeah.
I would
True.
say that's the biggest. Any Clement, our co-founder and CTO, usually says whatever something is not in prod doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I think it's the coming of Kakarot into existence that's going to be nice.
Oh, great, great. I personally, I think Kakarot is one of the fastest growing Zk-EVM out there right now. I think it's the fastest. Yeah, yeah. So, are there other things that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Mm, no, I don't I don't yet have a
Oh, okay.
subject.
Oh, great, great. So, for our audience that might want to follow you, like follow any of your social media handles to see what you're doing, just follow. How can they reach you?
You can reach me on Twitter, Etazu, Etazou. I'm quite active there. I post some like research and opinions and shit post. And they can also follow Kakarot Zk-EVM on Twitter and join our Discord to come and chat with us.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
It's been fantastic, having this conversation. And I hope it helps a lot of our audience navigate the world of Starknet.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
See you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Elias, for joining us today on Starknet Espresso and sharing your insights and what the future holds for Kakarot. To all our viewers, I hope you enjoyed this exciting episode. Don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes like this. Until next time, keep learning, keep building, keep innovating. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.